the starting point now. So, welcome. It's now the fourth of our meetings, and maybe for some reasons one may feel it is, on one side it feels very fast, and on the other hand it may feel that very much, yeah. So that it is very much to have all these exercises and these meetings and these evenings and all that points. One word to these exercises, because I got one question also today about it. Please really feel free. It is just kind of an option to do something if you would like. You can look at them, and if you would like to do something, then do it. If you feel, oh my God, it's better I have a walk, then do better the walk. Yeah, it's not that there is not a pressure in this way. On the other hand, all who have worked for that exercises, we would really like to hear if there is something what you can get from it, if you do it, if you feel good with it, or what you think how it could be developed. And this is, you can also write us privately. I will come, if the plan is really working for today, also to in the end to that, to ask you about some experiences with these exercises, just to share it and to have a question. I have to excuse myself. I tried to bring all on the cloud. I brought it on the cloud, and the cloud was working. I tested it with 2 different mobiles. I also asked Anna Katarina to check it if it works with her. But the audio fields, it seems not free available. Maybe one has to find out where the bottom is for download them, to download the audio fields. I will try to put them on another cloud and then send you again, but I couldn't make it now in the afternoon. Otherwise, I were sending all the things to you a little bit chaotic via mail and via WhatsApp, and maybe I can also collect them again for WhatsApp sending out, or for a mail sending out. Even if you like, you can work with it even later, in another time when you are in holidays. And then you are at the wood, at the beach or on the hill, and you think, oh my God, what shall I do here? Nobody will. Yeah, so it's just a suggestion. I came, this is before we start then with Stefan also, to the point that we not should forget to cross the threshold now. Okay? It can happen that you sit where you are, or you do it physically, and concentrate a moment of that, how you enter this space of our meeting. there we are now on the WhatsApp group. Some of the photos of that growing, how the seeds are growing, and so on. That's maybe that's also nice. I also did it. And if there are questions that's really okay, that we can exchange about that. And there came to me this thought about this, why I put it on this, or gave to you the seeds in relation to the creative process. And this is, of course, a question you shall look for and observe how this 2 or this 4, or if you have done also another option, how they develop, how is it, what happens, how does it go, what is it that something is building up through themselves, only through themselves. And this is so, the thought came to me, it's so a point when you have this little seed in your hand and it has no weight for our sense in this way. It feels like nothing. And then when one look at it and says, okay, it's here now. Okay, and now where does this plant come from? And if I not know what the seed is speaking about herself as a plant, then I have a little also a big question. Oh, who are you? Who are you? What will come out? Yeah, and maybe this is very good for us, because I can imagine not everybody is a gardener, so that you immediately see, this and these and these and these. Who are you? And I don't know. I can't. Where do you come from? What happens there? And we have it here on our hand. On our hand, weightless in a way, in the air, and then we put it somewhere in a box, and there's no light, and there's no water, and there's no earth. And then one comes to that point, I put this weightless, who are you, in the earth. Now I bring it together in the earth with water and the warmth, the temperature, fire. I don't put the real fire, of course not, but warmth. Fire is an element of warmth. Earth, water, warmth, and then comes light. And all these 4 elements then working together, because the warmth penetrates the earth, the water penetrates the earth, and even a little bit the quality of light goes also to that little, who are you? Otherwise, from what should it know that the root has to go this way? And the root is the first what comes out of it. Okay, good. So all the 4 elements are working together. What are these 4 elements? What are they? What is such an element for all these 4 elements? Why did this funny, silly Greek, they didn't know about all our elements, yeah? Why did they believe that this is these are the elements of the constitution of our life. What are these four elements? Isn't it interesting? And I started to think again about this. Who are you meeting the four elements? And some magical happens. And I can imagine most of you have just seen the first steps of this walking into show what this little who are you means for himself, for herself. Let's surprise you and enjoy to observe through which stages it is going to find the first full development, and there's another, when you stay with it a longer time, it's possible with, especially with one of the seeds, or with, when you stay longer with it, also to see when is the climax of being, and when and how is a process of going back in the end to a lot of who are you? Back again. So that's maybe it's a, I just was inspired by that thought when I saw some questions and some pictures from you, and even I had to meet someone today, and we had a long conversation about even personal development. So far, this as an entrance, and I would like to invite Stefan to do with us the next step. Is that okay? Good.
Thank you, Jörg. It's a pleasure. Asked to do some light show. We have one here. It's not silent in 5 minutes.
Stefan, don't worry, but it is not nice for you. It's not nice for the people. I would say we just stop it now, and we may have a later look if there is a little frame. We can put it in, and otherwise we have to see how we can manage it. Yeah, I think it's
okay.
Instead of having this not really good voice. I hope, is it okay for everybody? Yeah, that we change that so that it is not so. Okay, thank you very much, Stefan, for now. Maybe it's a possibility for Christiane to join that space now.
Yes, I try to pick up. Can you hear me nicely? Actually, I hadn't so much the idea to do movement, but now I had a spontaneous idea how I perhaps can substitute a little bit what Stefan does. So we go for movement for some seconds, for a minute. And what I ask you do is try to make consonants or noises like yeah, quite wild. You did also yesterday. The people who joined Stefan's lesson yesterday, he said go and also let come noises when you move. So I ask you for about 30 seconds, 45 seconds to move in space, and perhaps you move and then you find the noise, or you make a noise and then you move. Can you imagine? So perhaps I do, and now I moved and make the noise at the same time. It's also good, yeah? But I can do, yeah, and then I move, or I do, or so, yeah? Just play around with noises and movement for 30 seconds, okay? I try to look a little bit what you do. Yes. Okay, and stop. It's good. Stop. Be still. And now think the noise comes from outside. Yeah. Or I do some noises, for example, and you react. Hear the noise comes from outside and you react. Okay? Yes, that's it. Yes, that's fine. Yeah, that's it. Okay, we do another one. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, and the last one. Last one. Yes. Okay. Okay. Now we make a short talk. So I ask you to put on your microphone if you want to say something. And I ask you the question, if you listen inwardly of the images that come out of this sounds, what kind of images you have? It could be concrete things, or it also could be fantasy thing. Can we have some impressions?
The last one was like nuts on the floor.
Very good. Yes, yes.
The first one for me was either like a roaring sea or like a rushing wind going through trees.
Yeah.
And the second one was a kind of fire, flame. It was for me was kind of a burning thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's enough. And look, this is specific, subtle. Look on the balance of having an image which is taken from the real world, but still it is not so real. Do you know what I mean? It is like, but yeah, it's on the threshold of the real noise. It was not the real noise if you press a nut or something, yeah? It's on the threshold, okay. And feel a little bit of the way you moved your body, the quality of moving, yeah? Try to have a little echo of that. How was my muscle tension? How was my relation to space? Yeah, okay. And now,
in general, for the specific ones.
Yeah, please.
You meant in general this relation to the space and to or for the or for each individual sound, what was the sensation of space?
No, mainly for all the sounds you tried. Also, when you do this alone without listening to my speaking, yeah. Because now you should try to move and speak. You do this alone first. You speak other sounds. You find them only in voices of animals. You can think of birds singing or dog barking perhaps, or cow. So you go more to the direction of vowels, and you can do it at the same time, like, yeah, or you do, yeah. You look what movement comes, and also you can try to what is my movement, the character of movement, if I make sounds which goes more to the direction of vowel. Would you like to try out? Is this interesting for you? Yeah. Okay, try out for 30 seconds. Just yeah. Wow. Ui, 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 ui. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, okay. Okay. Was this different? In respect of the impulse? Leo, or no?
I mean, I'm not sure in terms of respect to the impulse, but it felt to me that with those sounds, it felt to me that there was a much more strong idea of character. Like it was more that, like I had a far more impression of like a being that was doing something and like an attitude, as opposed to before it felt more like, well, not necessarily inanimate things, but, you know, not things that were living, you know, like kind of, yeah, like, well, yeah, I guess that's how I'd say it. Yeah, there was more like personality for me with the vowel.
And what images do you have when you do vowels? It might be different from content, but it also might be different from quality. Yeah, the substance of the image of my imaginations or fantasy or visualizing could be different. Okay. We want to go one step further, and we will continue tomorrow if you like. So what I would like to work, or what we are working on now, and now we started more with a little bit movement, which puzzles it up, but it doesn't matter. We will clarify up step by step. We are talking about a consonant and vowel. Yeah. And what we do, can I do one more step? Alina, do you have the time in I? How many minutes do I have for?
3.
4 minutes, yeah? Somebody should think of impressing noise she or he had heard. It could be in nature or could be in a city. And if one has such a noise in mind, then please give it to us. The others listen to this noise and try to guess what it is, what it was, what was the noise, what was the reason of the noise, and perhaps even the situation. Yeah, but first just the reason. So you are very gifted, talented, I know, but just the reason, yeah? Who could give us a noise? I forget something. This is the most funny of it. somebody gives a noise and everybody will copy it. But of course, the microphone is not on, yeah? You will copy it. And then you look inwardly, what is this noise? Okay? So who would like to give a noise? We let some seconds to think if you remember something impressing. Do you hear noises sometimes? It could also be out of a comic. Have you never read comics? It could be from Asterix and Obelix. Okay, yeah, okay, Ben has one. Yeah. Ben, you have to put on your microphone, otherwise we can't hear. Do it again, please. It was very good. Do it again, and then we copy. Okay. Yeah. What did you see?
Me.
No. I mean the others. Do you have an idea of a material, of a direction, of what happened?
Stone.
Leo, you made a direction. What direction was it?
Yeah, it feels like up and then stopping. I feel like or some kind of falling. There's definitely the end for me was like some kind of final stop, like something hitting the ground. But I feel like kind of up first. But I mean, but that's just the tone of it. So I feel like, yeah, sudden stop.
Yeah.
I also felt that it's some mechanical sounds. It's not like from nature, it's from some system that is made by human being.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Okay, Ben will tell us tomorrow what it was.
Now, you must.
I ask
No.
you for tomorrow. I ask you for tomorrow to listen to noises. Yeah. Finally, speech or creative speech is much about listening. Yeah. So see if you get some little or spectacular or loud. It must not be loud. It is not necessary that it's loud, but just see if you can tomorrow bring some noises. Yeah. Okay. I have to stop here.
Yes.
And tomorrow we, yeah.
So
tomorrow we continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Christiane. And let's say we just continue with our little program, because we have for the last times, and there are some questions in the air, and I would like to go to these questions also. And let's see. Let's go up and we do one movement more with Jörg. Okay? I don't know if you always then fix this speakers or go to the speaker view, then you will, when you go to speaker view, then you see me, but it's quite very clear what we are doing here.
Jörg,
Yeah.
If you have this Hintergrund,
I know, yeah, I forget that.
have to take the other back. space.
I change it. All that technical bloody things, that's so awful. It's so funny. And
That's better.
Lighter. Good. Yeah. So a little bit jumping on this place, just, and now you are jumping hopefully in balance, but now give to your jumping a little bit more going up, the tendency to go up. Up. Yeah, you play with that. Up, 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 up. Okay, and then the middle area, and then jumping down so that you come to the down going, down going. Okay. And we go a little bit as we are sitting on a horse, something sitting there, jig jig. We have already done it. It's not new. And you may remember this nice picture. This I have stolen from Stefan, but I like it very much that we can do that with the right hand, and you have the pelvis movement, and you look straight. You don't watch your hand. And then go to the other side. Pelvis moves the other direction. You look straight. Good. And you do it both. Pelvis moves forward, backward. That's great. And then the other way around with both. Wonderful. And with the second hand, we started backward in this way. Pelvis movement and a third circle. Wow. Other hand, backward. And bring it down, closing up. Thank you very much. I would like to go to this reading for today with Darren. Because there's a nice other chapter of this little lectures. And I give here this to you. You see here, can you see my little mouse cross on your screen or not? You see Stanislavski sitting with his book in front of him, and behind him this little man there with his hand on the chair. Yeah, very relaxed hand. This is Mr. Michael Chekhov. And there are very much important people. Where they are in Berlin at the Max Reinhardt visit. Okay, and maybe this is, they put this picture to that, it's a nice picture. We hear something also about Stanislavski from Mr. Chekhov. Darren, are you ready to go?
Yes.
That's wonderful. So let's go to it.
The Necessity to be Oriented, July the 4th, 1938. In 1912, Michael Chekhov joined Stanislavski's first studio of the Moscow Art Theatre. Stanislavski was both Chekhov's teacher and director. What is the difference between a young student and an experienced actor? Not that the quality of the experienced actor is higher than that of the student. Often, the student has much more fire and sincerity, but the old actor will always be much more attractive to the audience because he is able to orient himself. This ability the old actor got quite simply, without any method or rules, through his experience, because it was through life necessity. If he is not able to do this, he will be discarded. He has to find his orientation. But in our school, we try to go quite a different way. We want to develop all these things which an experienced actor gets from his inharmonious profession on the basis of a certain method and knowledge. We must know what we are doing. We must know what our aim is. We must come to this aim as a scientist comes to his aim, knowing certain things and standing upon them. If our school was a different one, if we were doing just one sketch after another without any aim, it would be a method of floundering. But we aim at overcoming this cultural gap in the actor's life. We want to pursue our aim quite consciously, and this is to get the ability for orientation in our art by certain definite points which belong to the realm of our special professional knowledge. This is point one. The second point is that in trying to get this ability to overcome this usual floundering on the stage and during rehearsals, because we don't know how to catch the subject, we are trying to get the knowledge about all the points of our method which seem so simple: objective, center of attention, psychological gesture, etc. All things which we can have in our hands and which will give us this orientation, on the condition that we are able to manage all these points in the quickest tempo. We have to juggle them. Only then are we really able to develop this ability of orientation. It must be instantly there. Now, when we are doing our exercises on objectives, we sit quietly and take the objective and follow it and prepare it and do it. This is absolutely necessary to start with. But the second stage is to take it instantly and choose the right one, and it is there immediately. For this aim, we have this exercise forcing you to find which is the right one for your character, for the situation, etc. If you have the ability to choose the right objective and pour it into your body, then you are able to orient yourself. I remember Stanislavski's method to educate himself. When he was training himself to get this ability to catch the right objective at the right time, he did the following exercises. He was walking along the boulevards of Moscow, and he was always choosing the place to sit near 2 or 3 people. Sitting and looking at them, he tried to guess what their objectives were. And then, when he had decided what the objective was, he would go to them and ask them what they were speaking about. In this way, he could prove and improve himself in getting the ability to choose objectives. He could choose the objective like a magician. At once, it was a revelation because he was a specialist in this work. This is a very good example for explaining our attempt to do these exercises. We must be magicians in catching the atmosphere which is supposed to be here, to catch the gesture, etc. The technique is the same. To train ourselves by means of these exercises so that we are able to catch everything at once. The last point. The ideal actor, in our sense, is the one who, at the moment he crosses the threshold during the rehearsal or the performance, feels psychologically hungry if he is not filled quite instinctively and at once with the gesture, with the objective, etc. By trying to do this exercise, we give ourselves this ability to feel ourselves on the stage in quite a different way than in our everyday life. This is in full contradiction to the usual idea of the stage, which is simply the more I am on the stage, the more I am like everyday life. And this is a certain nothing. To be an actor means to have two psychologies. One for one's private life and one for the stage. And this stage psychology, the other self, means to be filled instantly and instinctively with everything. Stanislavski tortured all the actors around him, and he tortured himself even more than us. He was a very difficult and strange teacher, and perhaps a very heartless and merciless teacher. And he had perhaps not found the right way for teaching. But because he was merciless to himself and to us, we have a marvelous example of what it means to be trained, really trained. Not only to know something, because he knew his method absolutely, but he wanted to get it as his second nature. And when have we seen this around him? We have seen that when he entered the stage, we knew his movements and eyes and everything absolutely. And we have seen that he was like a wild animal. He was chased by his own hope to be filled by the points which he thought were right. He was never satisfied with his acting, although he was a marvelous actor. He was his own specimen, his own victim, his own patient. We have seen this marvelous quality, and this is what I want you to get. Instinctively, he had not allowed himself to enter the stage without having this second nature, which is in the objective and the other points of the method. He was filled with all these points, and until he had done this, until he felt that his whole nature was bursting with these things, he could not rehearse. He could not act. And this is the right attitude which we must get to. When we are satisfied with being half filled with the objective, half radiating the atmosphere, half guessing the gesture, we are on the wrong path, because we are only half creators, half actors. We are half strong or half weak, and this is what we must overcome. That is the reason why we have our school, to get something to the fullest extent. And this is so important. It must be like a thermometer. If we get the same feeling that Stanislavski got when everything is done for the part, it must be inside you like a thermometer. You must feel that you must do something to get it to the top within you. This satisfaction with the halfway is the most weakening, the most treacherous for the actor. I have seen Stanislavski like an old lion, like an old king. He was crying like a child before us because he could not stand this halfway, because his nature was through and through an artistic nature, which requires always a certain fullness. The real artist will never be satisfied with half things. When he was crying, saying he was not an actor, He had a factory, so why should he act? He cannot act, etc., etc. He was crying like a child. That was an artist who requires everything or nothing. We must get this ability through these particular special exercises to awaken this feeling of the necessity to be oriented. And for this aim, this exercise is the most beautiful which I know. This training to get one thing after another, consciously trying to get it, follow it, and it will lead us in the shortest way to these two abilities: to feel where everything has been done, or I want to leave the stage and go to my factory, like Stanislavski. After all this explanation, you should actually get the desire to do these exercises again and again, and with full activity. Then it will bring us to the Stanislavski result. All our exercises are actually one big thing, but we have taken them separately as different points because we're training ourselves. There seems to be a great improvement in the scenes which we saw a month ago. There is certainly improvement, and you must know this. Also, you must know that there is success, but there is also room for other things. But please, try to avoid the illusion that we have a group feeling. Actually, we have not got it, or only half got it. This illusion makes us happy in the wrong way. And this was the point at which Stanislavski cried. He did not allow himself to live in illusion. I think it's probably worth, just because that last paragraph was maybe a bit confusing, there is a little note here about the group feeling.
Mhm.
Is that okay, Jörg? Should I say it?
Yeah, read that.
He says another quality, the ability for which we're trying to develop in our actors, which is called group feeling.
Yeah, please, Darren, not so fast. It is for people who are with the English a little bit more looking around their soul. What does it mean? Easier to understand when it is not so fast. Take the time, that's no problem.
Another quality, the ability for which we are trying to develop in our actors, which is called group feeling. That means that not one of us is ever on the stage egotistically. We consider our art as a group art, where everybody depends on the friend, whether this friend is on the stage or not. It is humanly important to feel ourselves as a group. The simple exercise for this group feeling is a circle. Do the simple psychological gesture, as it were, which is, first of all, to realize, to be aware that here are our friends, simply, humanly, without I am. Not alone, but aware. Without making any strenuous efforts with your body, the we are-ness, we open humanly our being to everybody. We do it so many times a day, very often unconsciously. But here during this exercise, we do it consciously to invite everybody to our soul and heart and not to be afraid. If we are strong enough, we can accept everybody without any sentimentality at all. Seriously, humanly, we are.
I leave it for a moment if you would like to look back to that text in case you don't have it in front of you. So you can just overfly it once more. Yeah, thank you, Darren. Even the last bit you will find, or where do you find it? We haven't touched it in this way, is when he speaks about ensemble. And there, when he speaks about ensemble, then you find it in the book. Then he speaks a little bit just from the other point of view, not from the we are when we focusing the group. Then he speaks from that that one has to look to everybody as an individual. It's she, and she, and he, and he, and she, and he, and so on. And also with this point, what is here in the last sentence said, of accepting everybody as she and he is in this ensemble. What is then we are? But the basic thing is the acceptance of the creative individuality of each of the others. And so that to connect. I think this is an important point because it brings both sides together. What is a we are, from what is it built, and what is a individuality. The individuality is to accept each others as creative artists. And when you remember a little bit to that exercises we had in the very first module with that love in our profession, and to see there what he is saying, that one has to train a little bit in daily life to see and believe in everybody as a person who is gifted or is connected, that everybody has a higher ego, a higher self, but in a different context he is speaking about as the artistic ego, the creative ego. It is not absolutely the same, but it is very much connected and is just so much connected that we can understand it for now from this point of view. Thank you, Darren, that you was adding this also in the end, this bit. So what is this? What is this? Yeah, Jacob, you want to say something? No. What is this little lecture about? Yeah. Yeah, switch on your microphone, and so that we not have all that sounds from everybody when one person is speaking. You can just join. So shall I take that what I saw from the hands, that this was that you would like to say something, or do you just jump in, switch on your microphone and speak, and hopefully not feel disturbed by someone else? Yeah, then you can speak, Christiane.
Oh no, I just make a winke winke to Ben's daughter. No, I just say a little thing that comes to my mind. Yesterday we heard about the table, and that the table could be everything, or that I'm invited or even asked to be astonished about the table, because the table could be everything. And today there was the question of objectives. And in a way it is a polarity, because here you have the outer world, the table, the chair, or whatever. Later he comes to the King Lear, yeah, or to the more to human attributes. And today it seems to me it is the other way around, or he starts from another point, from the other point, from the objective. And what is the objective is what do I want to fulfill, or what is the human being's star? He starts from his inner point, yeah. And what is the table? It comes from the outside, yeah. But it's two directions and they meet. Something like this.
I really like this idea of using all of the tools, the techniques that you see in the circle of inspired acting, and the idea that you might play a scene or a moment in a play, and that you are really hungry to fulfill them, rather than, which is what I've usually done, is treated like a box of chocolates, like, oh, I think I'll have that one and maybe that one. But the idea that you would really want to be so full, and that's a very, I think, a much richer, it gives you many more possibilities to be bigger than your own sort of limited, maybe, idea.
I'm a little concerned about this idea of the tortured actor. And I know that in some of the other pieces we've done, this is not the point of this process is in part to get away from that idea that he was talking about, Stanislavski being tortured. But in this piece, it doesn't quite seem that way. There seems to be like an edge of struggle in this halfway point. And I'm just wondering if there's any way to think about this, like, because we had this with the guy who came and did the guest class in at the end of our class last time, talking about pushing the actors up to the wall and then pushing through the wall. And I'm just wondering what part of this is the development of these tools to be able to approach the wall and get through it, or is it to, like, is there a torture in it somewhere and that we should expect to have those moments, or what is it? Because I don't come to this work with the intent to torture myself in order to get there. And so does that mean that I'm not committed enough and therefore I'm not an actor, like I'm not a real actor because I'm not gonna hurt myself to get to the end? Or is this halfway point, is there some way to navigate it so that it's not torture?
Yeah, how do you feel about that? Anybody else or some other point?
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point, because I think sometimes a process can become about you must suffer or you must go through a wall, but then it really just becomes about the I, and I'm going to suffer, and then that can also restrict your awareness beyond yourself. I think that aspect of torture I would be keen to avoid. But I do think the struggle is valid.
Yeah, go, Sophia.
I think it's also what Jacob meant about the guest tutor. I think it's also some kind of mental schooling process, because Stanislavski and the guest guy, Vladimir Baicher, they are Russian, they're from the same school. And I think it has to do with our mental specificities when you just go and die on the stage. That's what teachers tell us. Like, if you don't die, you're a bad actor. You don't die every time on the stage. But I think that sometimes what is meant, that sometimes it will hurt, and like in life, the hardest decisions, they always hurt, and it's always scary to change something. And it's the same in acting. Like the best acting, it is like more painful and more out of the comfort zone as just the average. But that's what is appreciated. That's how I understood it. Like, torture means to always to compare yourself with yourself yesterday on stage. Like Baryshnikov said, I always compare myself to myself, like every day. But it will hurt. I mean, come on, you knew where you're going, Jacob.
It sounds a little bit different from that, Sophia. What Chekhov said, acting should never be painful.
Yeah, but that's the Russian, the Stanislavski, the classical school is always like this, like go and die. And he also overlived this. But I mean, it will not be painful. You will just get used to that pain, and it will. And at the end, you would love that pain, and you would be like, "Oh, great, the pain again." you would not be able to live without that pain.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Matthias.
I have to say something because I absolutely disagree. I'm coming from a torturing training, and this comes from the misunderstanding of Stanislavski's work. I'm quite sure about this, and I am sure that acting should and must not be painful. And if I feel myself talented, I feel it's how to say it in English, deliberates me, or it's deliberative if it's an English word. So I absolutely disagree with what you said, Sophia. and I have a huge experience in suffering from training, and I really think it can be useful in a short term, but in a long term, it's contra. How do you say it in English? But maybe you understand. I mean, it goes to the opposite way in a long term, really deeply. And I think, and what they tried to make me think in this training, what you just said, that you get used to this pain and you will love this. And I absolutely disagree with this.
But how can then you cope, like some characters, some roles, they require the pain. I mean, I'm absolutely okay with like, I don't feel deserted after overliving some things for the character, but how will you cope with the roles that like require pain, like I don't know, like Joker, for example, with the
That's what Chekhov says, the double consciousness, I guess. So I would say that it's like the same when a child plays and enjoys that he or she is playing a cruel or something painful. Yes, I play this painfulness, and somehow I can enjoy it. But what I am doing as an actor, I think what I feel is the joy of play. And what the character feels, yes, it can be painful. And I know it's really tricky territory in the pressure. Sorry, I'm really, this theme is just makes me a bit nervous. But yes, what I concluded in the last couple of years, that you need to feel joy, and of course you feel some kind of pain, but it's really the same as the child feels the pain when they are killing each other with the sword, with the game sword, you know.
I actually, Matthias, I actually meant that this way of pain, that anyway, it will hurt, but in a very pleasant like manner, you know, you will love this pain. So that's actually what I meant. But from the school where I come from, and the culture where I come from, it was usually, and Michael Chekhov comes from, it was usually like go and die and this stuff. That's why, that's what I meant. But I mean, you will love it anyway. It will not hurt.
Yeah, we know that, and when I was now in the last times in Russia, I met these people from these schools. I met very much people who really didn't like that, that they get personal pain for that. And this is really to distinguish between this who is a who, and I would say what Matthias tried to express in this way is it has to do with that working with the tools. And this is also what in this little lecture is given, that one has to try to develop this ability to have all these tools a little bit around yourself in your ability, so that for each thing you have to create, you can joyful play with these tools and create everything in any direction. And then it is the process itself is not filled by personal pain unless one is not satisfied about the own development, but not the acting itself as a painful thing. Yeah, then I would like to bring that to that point. But there was, Leo, you wanted to say a bit, so just give you the space.
Yeah, you kind of said what I was going to say, that the pain that I think Michael Chekhov's talking about in this lecture isn't the kind of pain. Well, isn't the pain which I think people often talk about when we think of the tortured artist or the tortured actor, and being there, or say someone like Daniel Day-Lewis or something, kind of like buries down into their own experiences and uses their personal pain, because the pain that he's talking about Stanislavski torturing him, I also don't think that actually necessarily means it as a good thing at all, in the way that he talks about it. He just says Stanislavski did torture himself mercilessly, but the reason, but not that the pain is important, but the reason why he tortured himself is, and that's just essentially to do no half measures, as far as I can see it. He says that it's that he was tortured with this idea of only half fulfilling the objective or half radiating, and it's the frustration of not fully doing, fully committing and fully giving everything that you can to your art is that pain that it seems to me.
Yeah, so I think we have that nice lecture, and one can reread it one time more for oneself and to see how it what the meaning is there. I think Chekhov was not very happy, and many of these actors under Stanislavski were not very happy when he was torturing him for the process. And Chekhov, it's not the only time when he says Stanislavski was a great actor, but he was not able to teach, roughly to say. And Chekhov had a different way of teaching, but sometimes when he speaks to his students, as we have seen now sometimes, he expresses some points to the students because he wants that they find a way to themselves to take it in their hand to develop themselves, and that they're not in need from outside to get pushed and get powered in this way. He tries to express it with the words that they exploit for themselves, to find the key in themselves, to do the development, and for that he gives this Stanislavski, who never was satisfied by himself. So, and I think he would like to give them this spark, the fire, as Chekhov calls that, to develop. I want to develop myself again and again. And the process, the acting itself, then it becomes even enjoyable when I would like to stay in the state, to ask myself, and now, what can I develop now? Yeah. So, yeah, let's say to close it up, reading this, and because there were, sorry, Christiane, you wanted to give something, but I think we can close it up now. I want, it was a question also from someone, can we go to the exercises? Can we have some questions to the exercises? And there were some other questions. So I see this time frame I was set is very tight when we want to give us a little bit space for an exchange. And I like that very much, that it happens. There were the questions about the online performances. There was an online rehearsing, online acting, and there was a question about atmosphere, work, and there was maybe some other questions about that, what is in the exercises. I'm just searching for an idea how we can manage it. And I think I don't want go now to answer the questions. I have to find another way. And I think we were thinking yesterday after the meeting, Alina Dern and me, about this online performance something and online rehearsing process. Maybe this could be extras little Zoom meeting what I could set, so, and with the theme, and everybody who would like to meet these points of question, because it's wider, it's not to answer in 10 minutes. And maybe there is also a practical part in it for those who have this question, so that one then could focus that more in a real trying out in a way, and that would be then something what I could remember and set up for one of the following weekends, very in a good timing, in a good way, so that those who would like to go there could also join that part of the question. And I was answering to that atmosphere question. I was a question about objective and personal atmosphere. And I think, of course, there is something what one can speak about. Maybe I can speak about in the next meeting, if there are some other questions also. But I answered in the way what is not very nice, I know. Let's meet. When we meet again, then we should do it in our space together, so that we have some people who create an objective atmosphere, and we have this objective atmosphere for all and different individual atmosphere, personal atmospheres, so that we can practice it and discuss it in the practical way instead of a more theoretical way. So, but please write these questions to me, then I can print it out for me, and then I can have that a way, try to find a way to have an exchange about the answering, or see when we can answer it. And I got the thought, maybe until September, it could be possible to create one or two other meetings just to go to the questions in this more general way. If there is a question to that exercises we just have sent out, so that you can continue this trying out with these exercises, then I would like to hear this, because that's maybe important for the next 3 days. Is there anything in this direction? How do you feel with that exercises, if you feel able to do it?
Yeah, I've been doing all the exercises this time, whereas I haven't been doing much since in between the intensive weeks. But I've got a bit of time this week until now. But and it's been great to re-engage with the work on my own. Yeah, I found that I feel more creatively open and engaged and reconnected back energetically into the work. So that's been good for me these last few days. And I emailed Alina about the music. We had an email back and forth about that, so that was good. Yeah. And I think, although I'm one who hasn't, I would be keen to try, perhaps beyond this week, doing maybe half an hour a day or something, or an hour a day maybe of work.
Yeah, thank you. Good. So, even if you feel you would like to know more about what you are trying out with this given exercises, I would like to have on the last meeting then a little bit feedback, because it was for us an experiment, and even Alina and Darren and me, we had the feeling now it was a little bit too much given now out of a certain enthusiasm of mine. But if anybody could do one of that, really try out something, and there is an experience we would like to know also about that. That would be nice. And then let's say we go to the golden hoop. And I know, Stefan, that we didn't come back to you now. Maybe you can manage it to shorten the process for tomorrow in a way that you can come to your aim even in a shorter way. And we cross the fingers to have a better internet connection for tomorrow. Okay. I think it feels always good when we not extend this meeting too much, when it is this 5-10 minutes we lose in the beginning and we have that in the end. That maybe is acceptable. But from that point of view, I thank you very much for being here. And I can get the feeling that something is just beginning to work, even inside of those who are taking part. And I think that's a good point, and let's go with that and meet in joy and even a little bit fun tomorrow evening again, and saying to each other now, have a good time, have a good, for Mark, have a good afternoon, and we have a good night. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.